Welcome to the Pathstream Podcast. At Pathstream, our mission is to prepare students of all ages for high-demand digital skills careers. And in this podcast, we talk to real-world professionals who are working in those high-demand jobs right now to learn about how they got started. We also talk to students who have successfully gone through our programs, we learn more about the humans behind Pathstream, and we chat with other leaders in online learning and the future of work to see where this industry is headed. Enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the Pathstream Podcast. I'm Anthony Jones. I'm on the learning design team here at Pathstream, and I'm one of your hosts.
And hi, everyone. I'm Shade from the marketing team at Pathstream, and I'll also be your host today. And today we're very excited because we have the opportunity to highlight one of our amazing alumni, Angela Mason. Angela completed the Facebook Digital Marketing Certificate, and today we're going to chat about her experience with the program, her strategies for success, and how she's been applying what she learned to her professional life. So Angela, thank you once again for joining us.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Of course. And we're excited to hear your story. And you know what, speaking of story, why don't you introduce yourself in your own words and your own story, and share what you would say your professional passion is?
Yeah, definitely. Good question. So my name is Angela Mason. Currently, I reside in Austin, Texas, and my background is in marketing and promotions. And truly what my passion is and what I'm fulfilled by is really helping other people, other brands, other businesses succeed, trying to help them to have confidence in themselves and believe in themselves to be successful. So
I love that. And would you say that that's also part of your professional passion? It's just helping companies succeed. Just elaborate on that if you can.
Yeah, for sure. So growing up, I feel like I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself. And so as I'm more, in a professional career and, you learn and grow with yourself, that I want to be able to help people with that. And yes, so I do that in my current job as well. But it was something that was personal to me. And I really wanted to be able to change people's lives in that way.
It's beautiful. Really, really passionate. I can tell you're passionate about it. Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, it's a very interesting way to start the conversation. And I'm wondering, based on that, can you just tell us a little bit more about how that passion led you to Pathstream and how you got interested in digital marketing specifically? And then why did you decide to go with the Pathstream program to enhance your understanding of digital marketing?
Yeah, for sure. So that's a lot of questions. So kind of veer me off. But basically, at the time, I was working two jobs and I was really wanting a change in my career. I wasn't exactly happy at the time. I was stressed out, I was burnout, and it was too much. So my job at the time, I was in billing. So I was working with numbers, with data, with coding, different things like that. And although it was great experience and knowledge for me to gain, it wasn't necessarily my passion. And I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life, So anyway, I was introduced to, actually, let me go back for just a moment. I was working marketing and promotions on the side. So I was executing these promotional events, representing all of these different brands around the Austin area. And back to my full-time job, I was introduced to digital marketing at the side. So I really just fell in love with that. And it was completely different, again, from what I was doing. So I was working with numbers and data, and I just fell in love with it. And it was more of just like the whole creative aspect of it. It was visual communication. It was advertising. It was just, I just love it.
And so how did you, I guess, first hear about Pathstream and the Facebook Digital Marketing Certificate? How did you even learn that it was?
Come about?
Yeah, how'd that come about? And then what was that journey to Pathstream like for you?
For sure. So because I was introduced to it at my job, I was like, okay, this is awesome. I'm interested. This is what I want to do. But it's not something that you can just, learn overnight. I was like, okay, I need a little bit more knowledge and experience. So I just started doing research into, digital marketing certificates. It wasn't necessarily something that I wanted to go back to school to get a degree in, right? I didn't want to have to go back to school for another 2 to 4 years. So then certificates came up. So then I just started doing research in my area, and Austin Community College partnered with Facebook and then Pathstream to be able to offer the digital marketing certificate, and the rest is history.
And how did it compare? I'm curious because you mentioned you didn't want to have to go back to school to go,
Yeah,
do another like multi-year program or something. And so
right.
how did the online learning of Pathstream kind of compare with your experience in education in the past?
Yeah, so I have a few vocational degrees. So I actually did do certified as a registered dental assistant. And so I do have a certificate in that. But as far as Pathstream and digital marketing, that was all online. It was all self-paced. So it truly gave me the flexibility to be able to have my career, be able to work, be able to be an adult, and then study on the side.
I was actually, that's a perfect
Yeah,
point. I just want to ask you this question because you just talked
for
about
sure.
something that a lot of people deal with, which is just like the time management aspect. So you just said you had
Yeah.
your, you were able to do this on the side, but can you walk us through how you were able to manage, you know, an online self-paced course while everything else, of course, like the pandemic and even just your own life is going on, just share with us,
Yeah.
like, what were some of your strategies to staying balanced?
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question. So everyone's different. So number one, you really have to know what type of person you are. Again, I was working two jobs. It was also important for me to still have some type of personal life too, right? So for
Mm-hmm.
me, it was, I found that it was better for me to cut out time during the week and on the weekends to be able to commit and study, to like cut myself away from the world, be in a quiet room, study. And really online self-paced is that's a lot of it. And so whether you want to go to the library, you need to excuse yourself, find what works for you. um, Compared to other people are different where they just wanted to do all of it 10 hours a day on the weekend. I personally just didn't want to do that, you know what I mean? I still wanted to have my life with my family, with my friends, and still be able to commit time to study and further myself and further my career.
Absolutely. And I love that you said that, like, that you wanted to have your life continue while you were, pursuing another aspect of your life, like the more professional aspect. I think
Mhm.
that sometimes people just get so caught up in like one or the other. And I think, if anything, the pandemic has shown us that, we need to like slow down and pace ourselves and like balance. And so I really appreciate you
Yeah.
sharing that. And what would you say, like, this is kind of a tougher question, like what didn't
Yeah.
work, and something that you learned, like, Kate, just for a heads up for anyone who's trying to balance.
No, for sure. So what didn't work was at the beginning, I was completely out of balance and I was burnt out and I was stressed out and I wasn't sleeping at night and it was too much for me. So you really had to come to a point where I'm like, okay, something has to change because this is not working for me. And so one is really learning like academically how you are, like what works for you and how you study. But two, it's your overall life and it's like taking care of yourself, taking care of your nutrition, getting the adequate amount of sleep. But most importantly for me, it was taking care of my like mental and emotional health. And I think a lot of people
Right.
like they don't think about that. They don't think it's important, or they're just like, I'm too consumed right now. I just can't deal with that. But that for me, it was super important.
Totally.
So to figure out my emotions, my thoughts, to meditate, to just take care of myself, that helped me have an overall balance in my life. Because if you're not okay and you're not 100% yourself, that's going to affect all other areas of your life.
Absolutely. +1 on the meditation, by the way.
Yes.
Love. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
yeah, that's a huge one. And how did you manage to build your portfolio while you were working? What were some of the steps that you took to do that?
Yeah, so it was actually so amazing because one of my coworkers, who's now one of my friends, she really introduced me to the world of digital marketing, right? So she was super helpful. She gave me so many tips and resources and things like that. So, um, I what I really wanted to do when I was working two jobs and studying, I really didn't have a lot of time to be able to commit to build my portfolio. So I was already at work, so I really just took any free time at work and I went on my lunch break and and things like that. And I just shadowed her and she helped me along the way. So concurrently, I just did that in my free time to just build my portfolio. But it's worth noting at the beginning, I didn't know what I was doing. You know what I mean? Because I was still
Yeah.
going through the program. I was still studying. And at that time, when I first started my portfolio, we had not gotten to any of the creativity part, any of the content creation.
Mm.
So I was just kind of winging it. But I look back at some of the content and I'm like, kind of impressed with myself because I didn't know what I was doing.
Absolutely. I feel like that's just life in general. We're all winging
Yeah.
it. Nobody really knows what's going on till like after it's happened. So you're not alone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are such a funny and true point. You mentioned a couple things. I think
Yeah.
you mentioned meditation. You mentioned,
Yeah.
kind of paying attention to nutrition. I'm wondering, would there any other things kind of fall under that bucket as far as like what you might recommend to somebody else to make sure that they're kind of taking care of themselves as a whole person so that they're putting themselves in a position to succeed if they're doing something like an online program while also working full time and maybe having to manage other, family responsibilities?
Yeah, for sure. So honestly, it's all about self-care. And self-care is less about like, oh, let me go get a massage, let me get a facial. No, not like that. Literally self-care, taking care of yourself. So it's knowing yourself, knowing how you work. And if you feel like you are getting stressed out or you're unbalanced, be able to recognize that in your body and in yourself, and take the steps to try to fix it, you know what I mean? And also with that is like don't be afraid to ask for help. So whether that's your family, those are your friends, parents, things like that, or even your boss. So just don't be afraid to ask for help because everyone has things that they're dealing with. But if you are truly passionate and you want to be able to, commit to it and succeed, it can be done. You just have to go about it the right way without burning yourself out, without being miserable. Because I feel like at point of time, not with a digital marketing certificate, but other times where I've been studying in college and in school, I was working, I was grinding, like I was trying to do it all, but I was miserable and I was just exhausted and mentally drained at the end of the day. So it's worth noting that I went through a lot of not being in balance, but that's shown me why it's truly important. You have to go through the ins and outs of it.
Yeah, was that something that you just had to learn through trial and error? Like you mentioned, like you had to experience sort of the downside of not taking care of yourself in that way to truly understand the importance of being in balance so that you can kind of hit the goals and the things that you want to achieve.
Yes, that is 100% correct. And just me as a person, like I'm just a stubborn person. So even if someone were to tell me like, hey, I don't know, you should maybe do this, this, and this, it's something that I have to experience on my own. And, that being said, it was terrible at the time, but in retrospect, like that was the best thing that happened to me because now I truly know, and I'll know forever what it's like to be burnout and out of balance and to not be in a good place. And to now like I can truly appreciate where I'm at and the balance that I have in my life.
That's great. And I think it's really, really good advice. And I totally agree that we
Yeah.
all kind of have to discover it in our own ways for it to be
Totally.
authentic. Yeah.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Sade, did you want to add to that, or like do you have a personal
Yeah.
anecdote?
Well, I just like as you were talking, Angela, I was just thinking in my life as well. I'm like, man, there's so
Yeah.
much that I had to go through to get to where I'm at now. Like all of the nonsense we go through is equally as important as all of the successes that we go through. Like we need
Exactly.
both. And like when you said that part where like you had to walk through the burnout to know what burnout feels like so that you never go back there. That's something
Yeah.
like my dad would say. He was like, once you've tasted it, you never want it again. So you make sure to safeguard yourself and like take all those steps, like you said, to self-care and to
Yeah.
balance while also pursuing your professional goals and all that stuff. So just, I'm
And
all for it.
And one thing I wanted to add to that was really if you do feel like you're stressed out, know what works for you. So for me, I'm a runner. I like to go running. Like running is like my therapy as well. Other
Hmm.
people have different things, whether they draw or journal or, meditate, what have you. Know what works for
Hmm.
you and how you can mitigate that stress.
I recently took up coloring, by the way. I don't know if you,
Oh,
it's so good.
cool.
I don't know. Anthony, did you have something that you're doing right now as a
No,
self-care?
no, I understand that like I've had a lot of friends who've gotten those adult coloring books, and I understand that they're like very therapeutic. It totally checks out.
Amazing.
I
They're
think
great.
Check it out.
probably
That sounds awesome.
yeah, I think probably like you, Angela, like one of my outlets is definitely physical activity. I find that
Mhm.
that's a
Yeah.
a nice outlet as well. But I wanted to ask you. I'm curious
Yeah.
if you experienced while you were in the Pathstream Facebook digital marketing program, did you have any moments where you just honestly you felt like, you know what, this is just too much right now. I got too many things going on, and I'm thinking about quitting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I definitely did because it's all new. It was brand new to me, whereas I had marketing promotions experience that I worked on the side. Digital marketing is very different, very, very different. So, as you're going through or as I was going through the program, there came a few times where when new concepts, new things were coming up and it just didn't click in my head. And I just kept rereading it and trying to relearn it. And I'm just like, what's wrong with me? Like, I'm so confused. So I think everyone gets to that point where you potentially want to give up, like the thoughts go through your mind, different things like that. But I specifically remember reaching out to my instructor and just asking for help. She was super encouraging. She's like, okay, how can I help you? Let's walk through this. Let's talk this out. But beyond that, I think at the beginning there was one sentence that I specifically remember. I hope it was with Pathstream, but it was just the explanation at the beginning of the course, and it was like, you're not going to know everything right off the top. Like, it's going to take time to be able to understand this and to truly get it, because everything was new. You know what I mean? And so that really, like, I went back to that sentence and that thought, and I was like, okay, girl, you got this. It's almost like a little bit of self pep talk. So, yeah.
Totally. And it's
Yeah.
funny, like you need to, oh, go ahead,
No,
Anthony.
no, please, Sade. It's all
I
you.
was just saying, like, it's a different hat you're wearing when you're learning, it's a
Ugh,
different, like from
yes.
like work to learning and just the act of learning. It's a different side of your brain. You're consuming information in a different way than you would at work. So, yeah, like that's a huge switch, to adjust yourself to. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just going to add, I've worked with adult learners as a teacher for many years, and now at Pathstream, and I
Mhm.
found that it can be tough for some adult learners because there's a lot
Yeah.
of understandably, there's a lot of ego involved. And, as adults, we don't want to be put in that position a lot of times where we're back kind of at square one and we don't have all
Yeah.
the answers. And it can be really tough at moments to get back in that learner's mindset. And so it totally
Yeah.
makes sense and it's totally natural, I think, what you experienced and what our other students experience. But kudos to you and kudos to all of our students out there who in those moments they have the foresight to say, you know what, I'm going to reach out to my instructor and I'm going to get a little bit of extra help, or I'm going to check in with myself and I'm going to make sure that I'm putting myself in the best position to get through this curriculum so I can get the skills that I need to actually pursue the job at the end of the day, which of course is
Mm-hmm.
the end goal. And so I guess I'm teeing you up, Sade, for that next question about our career services.
Yeah, no, I know you've already praised Amy so much, Angela, but I'm just curious, like how did our career services really help you during your job search? And then I have a follow-up question after that, but I'll let you answer
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, for sure. No, Amy was so amazing. And it was actually something, now that I'm thinking back, it was something that I wasn't aware of the career services until
Mm-hmm.
after the program, right? And so she just contacted me, and it was actually just like a phone call, just a phone conversation, but she really helped me through everything. Reviewed my resume, we talked about my goals, what exactly I wanted to do, what area of focus I wanted to be in, whether I wanted to work remote, whether I was wanting to move, different things like that. Amy was really there to help me with the career exploration aspect of it, and she really gave me like industry advice too, right? Because again, we just completed the certificate, you're new to the field, to the industry. Some people are doing like complete career changes. So Amy was great.
Yeah.
At the time, whenever I graduated, it was March of 2020. And it was maybe like a week before the pandemic hit, like the world shut down. And it was really hard because right after that, I was like, okay, I'm so excited. I'm going to do a few internships and I'm going to gain some knowledge and like build my
Mm-hmm.
portfolio, and that was not an option. Like, no one was doing anything in person, and so it's really frustrating and like kind of heartbreaking. I'm like, I've done all this and then the world shuts down. But anyway,
Wow.
beyond that, Amy was still there for me through that entire time. So I think altogether maybe 8 or 9 months of me job searching and trying to do the right thing and build my portfolio. And she was super patient with me, always like just connecting, reaching out like, hey, how's everything going? Would you like me to do another, review of your resume? We even did interview preps to like help me for different things like that. So she was just amazing and very patient and helpful along the way.
That's huge. I'm like, yeah, Amy, everyone says the same thing about Amy, but it's amazing to see how students like how far her efforts go, and like to see that, in person, like to hear the testimony of her efforts. So that's huge. Thank you for sharing that. And we'll definitely let her know. What advice would you have for Pathstream students who are also looking for a job? I mean, I know things are not as bad as they were, but they are still difficult. They're not as they used to be anyway.
Yeah. For sure. Well, a few different things. So one thing is going to be know what area of focus you want to be in. So digital marketing, I mean, there's so much, whether you're more of like a data numbers person, SEO, analytics, different things like that, or you're more of like the creative, graphic design, content creation. Know what type of person you are and like the area of focus that you want to go. Two, it would honestly be just be open to different opportunities, right? So I'll just give you an example. For me, I was super like focused and had tunnel vision for digital marketing only. I was really not open to anything beyond digital marketing. Like, I had to be a digital marketing specific role. And it is just so interesting that you can, if you're just open to it, you can really like surprise yourself, and just amazing opportunities could come to you, and you have no idea. But if you're so closed off and like tunnel vision, so it doesn't hurt to just have a conversation, have a phone conversation, or even have an initial interview, even if it's not 100% what you want for the job. One, it still builds yourself, like it helps you be able to interview prep, perform well. And two, you can also make that connection. You never know when you may run into that person years from now, and they can always be in contact and connect with you.
That's really smart. I like that. That's really good advice. And like, I know I want to touch on something you said there, like know yourself, know what you want. So what would you say for yourself right now, like having walked through it? I know you mentioned a lot of things about creativity and how like that was your bread and butter. Feel free to expand.
So yeah, for sure. So there's different things along with that. So I think for me, long term, I'm interested in more of the creative aspect of it. So like web design, web design, graphic design, different things like that. So there is more that I want to know. I want to teach myself, maybe, get back in with like another certificate type thing. So that's me. I really like that aspect of it. One, I like to help people be successful and have confidence in themselves. But two, I just feel like I have the aesthetic eye that I love when something is, just visual communication. That's my thing.
And speaking of aesthetic eye, I can see the mirror behind you. I can tell you have an aesthetic eye. The couch and the setup. I'm like, yeah, she's got it.
It has to flow. It has to be good. Flow. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, Shade has her own aesthetic style side hustle going on. I don't know, Shade, if you want to talk about that?
Yeah, that's so true. Oh, nice. That's a good call out, Anthony. I do. I have like a personal styling blog, and I do personal styling on the side. So, and it's kind of funny. It's in Calgary, Alberta. It's definitely not a metropolitan city where people are dying to get their wardrobe edited, but somehow there are a couple people out here that actually are looking for some styling help. So every now and then, every weekend, when I have appointments, I'll just take people shopping. Yeah.
That is so fun. Oh my gosh. Yes.
So okay. I'm on the creativity wave completely with you there.
Love it. Ooh, good job, girl. That's awesome. Side hustle.
Right.
Yeah, and definitely pursuing the passion too. We're here for that for sure. Angela, bringing it back, because I think I just wanted to highlight something about your mindset with the job search that I find unique and really positive, which is it sounds like, there can be so many rejections during a job search, and that just sort of goes with the territory, right? Like, you might experience a 98% failure rate, and that's maybe totally normal. But some people, I think they over-index on those rejections, and they can get really down on themselves, and that's totally understandable. But it sounds like what the mindset that you developed is that you were seeing sort of the positive in all of these experiences. So whether or not you got the job, it sounded like to me that you were, you were taking a positive from it, like, oh, this is good practice for me to interview, or
Right.
this is a connection that I'm making that might have some value down the road, even if I don't get this job. And so what I'm wondering is, have you always had that mindset, that type of thing where you're going to see the positive in something and you're going to be focused on your growth, or how did you develop that mindset? Because I think it's such an asset that not everybody has.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great question. So just me personally, I would say I've always kind of been more on like the positive side, but especially, as you're job searching and as you get older and as I'm like wanting to further myself and my career, and it was the pandemic, right? So I was trying to do all of this and job search, and it was discouraging. Like, I'm not gonna lie, everyone goes through that, unfortunately. But instead of there's two different ways that you can go about it. So you can say, why me, play the victim, and why is this happening to me? And I'm just, beat yourself up. And you can say, what is this trying to show me? How can I grow from this? How can I further myself with these things? So it's really, if you're not just a naturally positive person, optimistic person, that's okay. Everyone's different. But, I would just say in the long term, like, go about it two different ways. You can say, why is this happening to me, or how is this helping me? That's all.
I
And
like
it's
that.
life. I
Great. Yeah,
get
I
it.
like
Like,
that.
life sucks.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Shade, what did you want to add to that?
Oh, I
Yeah.
was just gonna add some snaps. Like I was gonna snap my
Oh,
finger to that. That was just such a good line. I'm like, that was like a TED Talk moment, Where it's like, it's not
Oh.
why. It's like, what can I learn? Yeah, that's a good one.
Well, and beyond that too, you can apply that to everything in your life. Honestly, it's not just job searching or furthering yourself or studying and being discouraged. No, it's every experience in your life, because life is the balance. It's always going to come with the pros and cons, with the negative and the positive, right? And terrible things happen to people, or accidents, or family members, right? Just different things in life. And same thing, you can say, play the victim. Why is this happening to me? Or what is this trying to show me? How can I better myself with this experience? So for sure, anything in life.
yeah, I think it's a great and positive mindset to develop that can really help turn potentially negative moments into positive ones. So thank you for sharing that. Can you
Yeah.
tell us more about the outcome of the job search? Because it sounds like you got a job out of it, and so I'd love to just hear
Yes.
more about your current role.
Yeah, definitely. So I work for a company called Abound. Abound is a wholesale marketplace. And basically, we bring indie brands. We have a few thousand brands on our site, indie brands and retailers together. So basically, retailers come on and they search for super unique, creative products, and then we bring the two together. But for me specifically, what I do for Abound, I work in brand success with them. So the outcome of the job search and digital marketing certificate, all of that good stuff. I actually don't work digital marketing specific, but again, that all goes back to being open to different possibilities, right? This is actually better than I could have ever imagined. But like I said, I was super tunnel vision to digital marketing only, but this is brand success. So I basically assess and analyze the different brands on our platform, and I help them to be successful. I provide feedback and suggestions, tips and tricks along the way to help them be successful. So,
Yeah, and did you I guess what I'm curious is, like, has there been any moments for you where you feel like you've applied something really specifically that you learned in the Facebook digital marketing program to what you're doing now? I'm just curious if any anecdotes come to mind from that question.
yeah, for sure. So, whenever it comes to, so I meet with these brands all day, every day, and we're always on video chat, right? And so they're just like, what more can I do to help me, to help me be successful as a business? And I've definitely applied a lot that I learned in digital marketing. So, they can do like different types of social media outreach, right? So whether you want to do like an email campaign, focus on your content, just different things like that. Those are more of like suggestions. I'm not actually creating it. I'm not on that side of it, but overall, the knowledge that I gained has definitely helped me so much in my current role.
And it sounds like Abound is a startup.
Yes. Yeah.
We of course at Pathstream, we're a startup, and so
Yeah.
maybe this is probably a question we could all answer. But
Yeah.
what do you wish you knew? What do you wish you knew before you started working at a startup about what it's like to be at a startup?
It's just, I wouldn't say anything specific. I wish I knew, but I'll just tell you, like, it's a different type because I came from like more of a corporate background, right? And so startup completely different, very, very different. But it's so exciting and it's so fun in a startup. And there's so much, like, it's like a high energy, high paced environment. But beyond that, specifically with Abound and my team, that everyone is so open to, we all want what's best for the business. And so it's super important to be able to speak up. And if you do see something that can be better, a better process, procedure, different things like that. So it's super exciting and it's fun. And we're in this growth stage. So I'm about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel the same. I feel like Anthony, you go. I want to hear your perspective.
No, I was gonna ask you, Shade. I was gonna say, like, oh, what does Shade think? Like, if we have any listeners out there who are curious what it's like to work at a startup, or maybe they're thinking they want to pursue a job like that, what would be your advice to them, since you've kind of been on both sides too of the professional spectrum?
Oh, is that for me or is that no? That's for Angela.
No, that's
right?
for you. That's for you.
That's for me. Oh.
That's for you. That's for you for sure.
I was like, go ahead, Angela. Oh, well, I mean, oh, geez, that's a great question. I think, like Angela said, I feel like the startup world is just, like you said, very, very passionate and exciting. And I guess my advice would be, like, I know I'm saying what you said, but it just really resonated with me. Like, don't have tunnel vision, like, be open, because like what you're doing right now, like you said, it's not necessarily what you learned through our, not necessarily like hardcore Facebook digital marketing. Yeah. But there's elements that are included there. And that's just because you had that open mind and you were like, what can I learn from this? And I think perspective is the biggest thing, right? Like your perspective going into a startup and or just like going into a job in general is like, what can I take from this and what can I learn? So I learned a lot from this podcast. So I'm just regurgitating what Angela said in nicer, in like different words. Just cheating. But yeah, that's a great question though.
And also follow up to that is, with a startup, you're wearing many different hats. So it's like, be ready for it, but also take it in. And it's such an exciting time and you're growing and helping this business like explode and succeed. So just be open, like you said, and know that you may be wearing like a ton of different hats, but you're going to gain so much knowledge and experience and make connections for life.
Amazing. And like your positivity and optimism has just lifted my soul today. So like what I ask like my last question for you would be like, what's the nicest thing someone has ever done for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. The nicest thing, I would honestly just say just encouragement in general goes a long way. Especially everyone's going through different things in their life and even studying and working. And it can be a lot. They can be super stressed out, but just a little bit of encouragement and even just a smile just goes a long way and completely like turn your day around, but also just give you a different perspective and just change your life.
Amazing.
Yep, I totally agree, and this has been such a great and dynamic conversation. So, Angela, thank you so much for joining us and telling us about what it was like to be in this Facebook Digital Marketing Certificate, and then giving us this update on your current role. And as we say with all of our students, like, we definitely want you to stay in touch and continue to let us know how it's going. But just thanks once again. It's been such a lovely conversation.
No, thank you guys so much. I truly appreciate the opportunity, and it was very nice to meet you guys, and just thank you for taking the time and being open to my story, and yes, keep in touch.
Thanks for listening to this episode. If you'd like to learn more about Pathstream, please visit pathstream.com or follow us on social media. And if you think you might be interested in starting a Pathstream course, visit pathstream.com/programs. That's PATHSTREAM.com/programs. Until we talk to you again, happy learning.